Intros that are too short, make them longer. Breakdowns that are too long. We got places to be made, cut them in half. Put the middle of the tune at the start. Okay, why not? Rekordbox edit mode lets you create DJ edits and remixes of your tracks.
Rekordbox has an edit mode?
That's what I said too, but it does, and I'm going to show you how to use it. To get to edit mode, click this drop down at the top left here and choose edit. You should see something like this. If it doesn't look like this when you first open it, make sure to click this browser tab at the bottom here. This will give you access to all your tracks. Edit mode only works with tracks you've saved locally, like MP3s or waves. It won't work if you're playing from streaming services like Tidal or Beatport Link. It also relies heavily on beat grid, so ensure the track you're editing has been analysed and the beat grid is accurate. If you haven't done that yet, right click and do Analyze Track. Once that's done, drag the track into the section at the top and close the browser tab. At the very top we've got a few controls: play, rewind, loop and quantize, and there's a few settings for that here. I recommend you just leave these for now. Under that, things look pretty similar to our performance view. You've got a waveform at the top which allows us to scan through the track, and underneath that you've got the main waveform display, which is where we'll be doing our edit. If you've got a trackpad, you can scroll this left and right using your fingers. Alternatively, you can click and drag on the numbers just above the waveform. These numbers represent the bars in the track. You click on the waveform to indicate where you want to start your selection from. This is indicated with this blue playhead. You've also got a zoom in and zoom out control on the bottom left. If you've got a trackpad, you can do that with pinch and zoom. We all have that track that's an absolute banger but a nightmare to mix. It's got an intro that's about 2 nanoseconds long. That means it gathers dust in our collection like the condom in my mate Dave's wallet. By using edit mode, we can extend the intro, making it easier to mix in. At the bottom of the screen, we've got our selection and editing tools. The reason you need your track analysed with a solid beat grid is all our selections and edits are done based on beats. The first tab is Beat Select. Just like setting a loop, clicking on these numbers will highlight the corresponding number of beats to the right of your selection. The other tab here is Select. Once we've made an initial selection, we can use this tab to either double, half, or clear it. To the right of the Select tools, we've got our Edit tools. These become active as soon as we make a selection. The first tool here is Clone. Let's say we've made a 16-beat selection. If we then press clone, Rekordbox will make a copy of that selection directly to the right of what we've selected. As you can see on the waveform, it's added another section. This is a really fast way of extending an intro. After that, we have copy and its long-term romantic partner paste. I've made a 4-beat selection here. I'm then going to press copy, select another part of the track, and then click paste. This will paste the thing I just copied directly over the top of the 4 beats to the right of my selection. That length will change depending what the length of your initial selection was. This is really good when you don't want to change the length of a section, but you want to rearrange the different parts within it. Insert is a bit like paste, but instead of overwriting a section, it creates a gap in the waveform and then pastes in what you copied. Let's create an 8-beat selection. Press copy, choose the point in the track you want to insert it, and then click insert. Rather than overwriting that part of the track, it's moved everything to the right and pasted it in. A quick tip here. Sometimes I like to go in beforehand and set my hot cues on the track. I like to put cues on the drop, the breakdown, or any other interesting parts of the track. This gives you a nice, easy visual reference when you're making the edits. Next we have delete. As you might guess, this gets rid of whatever you've got selected. This works really well on tech house tracks. Perfect. Finally, we have clear. Rather than remove a section completely, this inserts silence where your selection was. I don't use this one much, but it can be handy to create a dramatic pause before a drop. Sometimes a track has an awesome vocal hook or sample that would sound great in a transition, but the problem is it's often not at the end of the track where you would typically mix out. To use it in your transition, you'd have to mix out early, which doesn't give you enough time to do a Jesus pose. In edit mode, we can simply grab that sample and move it to the end of the track so it's easier to mix with. This opens up endless possibilities to create new and interesting transitions that other DJs will be calling you up about afterwards. On the right hand side, you'll see something called palette. Think of this like a big clipboard. When you've made a selection, you can either drag it in here or click the plus icon. This means it will be available for you to use multiple times without needing to go back and select it. You can rename these to make it easier to remember what they are by clicking on the file name. Type in something new and press enter. The play button lets you preview them. And if you want to get rid of them, click the rubbish bin and then again. From here you can simply drag them from your palette onto your waveform. This works the same way as insert. It moves everything to the right and pastes in your sample. Alternatively, you can right click on it and do copy. Then if you use paste, it'll overwrite whatever's to the right of the playhead. As DJs, our job is to control energy. I've covered a few of the ways you can do that in another video, which I'll link to in the description. But sometimes parts of a track don't contribute to the energy we want to create. For example, you might have a really high energy tune, but it's got a breakdown that lasts longer than My Nan's Funeral. You want to keep the energy high, but the crowd's gone off to get a latte while the breakdown plays out. Being able to shorten or extend parts of a track that dictate the energy level gives you massive control in your sets. You can completely alter the energy graph of a track and make it more effective on the dance floor. A great feature here is the ability to save your edit projects. This saves all the tweaks you've made, including everything in your palette. That means you can come back and do more work on it later. To do that, click the floppy disk icon at the top here. Give your project a name if you want to and click save. Rekordbox will give you a boring dialog here, so just click OK. You'll then see your project is now available on this little drop down up here. As you can see, I've got a few other edits I've been working on in the list. If you ever want to return to it, just go back to edit mode and select it from here. The final step is to export your edited track so you can play it in your sets. Click on the little music note icon with the arrow. You'll see this dialog which lets you name the file, choose the location and the format. There's also a tick box at the bottom. This will show your exported file in your music collection after Rekordbox is done rendering it. But what's this? A padlock. That's right, this feature is only available if you subscribe to the Rekordbox Creative Plan or above. But don't open your wallets just yet because there's a way around this. The good news is you have full access to edit mode even without subscribing. What I suggest you do is create all your edits up front. Then simply take out the 30-day free trial and export them all. Or you could pay for it. I'll also be showing you how you can record from Rekordbox in a future video, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Unfortunately, edit mode doesn't let you copy one part of a track to another. Not yet anyway. Whilst we wait for Pioneer to sort that out, there's so many other ways you can use Rekordbox to add creativity to your sets. And I bet there's at least one you don't know about yet.